everybody and welcome back to my channel. I took last week off because it was my birthday, but I'm back now and as usual, let's get on with the video. So this week I want to talk about burnout as a PhD student because I think this is something a lot of PhD students experience and we maybe don't realise we experience it and therefore we don't know what to do when we experience it. So the first thing you might be asking yourself is, what is burnout? I've never heard of this. Or maybe you've heard of it, but you don't really know what it means. So burnout is basically what happens when you become overloaded at work, or you've gone too long without a break, or maybe you've just set too high expectations for yourself, and it leaves you with feelings of hopelessness, helplessness, apathy. So in that sense, it has a lot of similarities to symptoms of depression, but it's not depression, it's not necessarily as severe as that. It can also leave you feeling quite cynical, you can become quite irritable with your workplace people, you kind of lose your drive and your desire to achieve in your workplace, if that makes sense. It's that feeling of not being good enough and never able to be good enough again. That's kind of what burnout is. It mainly happens to people who are high achievers, perfectionists, put a lot of pressure on themselves, maybe don't feel as supported in their workplace. And I think you can start to see how people who are PhD students might experience burnout. We're perfectionists, we work too long hours, we don't set good boundaries, and then if we don't achieve what we expect, we start to feel like we're not good enough. This all leads to burnout. And although you might be sitting there thinking, well, that doesn't sound that bad, I mean, I can get over that. But burnout can lead to a lot of other issues. It can lead to depression. It can lead to alcoholism. It can lead to a whole bunch of nastier things that you don't really want to deal with. To be honest, if you look up the list, I'll leave it down below, a link you can go. It's not great. I'll be honest, I'm probably experiencing maybe a little bit of burnout now. If I'm talking to some of my friends, I think they're probably experiencing a little bit of burnout now. So let's nip this in the bud, get ourselves healthy coping mechanisms before it becomes worse. Sounds good? Good. A lot of these tips I'm going to give and recommendations, they're more prevention strategies, not necessarily how to help you once you've got burnout, because it's generally found with burnout, it's better to try and prevent it than to treat it once you've already got it. Kind of the same with most other medical issues, to be honest, but thought it was worth stating. Step number 1 to avoiding burnout, give yourself a work-life balance. Sounds really simple, but as PhD students, we often don't do this. We feel we have to work on our PhDs all the time. We think it's a vocation, and it is partly a vocation. So we don't give ourselves that healthy work-life balance. And by this, I mean, take your weekends. You're not meant to work your weekends. Please don't work your weekends. I understand sometimes you've got a deadline coming up and it's unavoidable, but don't make a habit of working your weekends. Give yourself that time to recharge, see friends, see family, leave where you're doing your PhD and just go somewhere for the weekend, even if it's just the next town over. On a similar note, take your holidays. As PhD students, we're entitled, at least at the University of Birmingham, to 6 weeks holiday. And yet I know for a fact I've only taken 3 of my 6 weeks. I took 2 at Christmas and I took last week off for my birthday. Now, grant you, that's a bit different because of the current situation and I wasn't able to take summer holidays in the same way. But I realised last week I still should take that time off and I don't really have long left because in September it resets. So take your holidays, plan to do something, even if it's just a week at home reading your favourite series again or watching that Marvel marathon, whatever it is you want to do to relax. Do it. I'd say the final point on this is try and set yourself some boundaries within the day. Pick a time when you want to start work, be that 9, 7 a.m, 10, maybe even midday. No judgment here, I'm not a morning person either. And then set a time when you're going to finish every day. Again, that could be 4, that could be 5, it could even be 8 p.m. The point here is you have defined work hours. And that then gets your brain into a habit of being like, okay, that's my defined work hours. So when it's not your defined work hours, you can do fun stuff. You can do other things. You could even do unfun stuff and do all the house admin you probably haven't done. But it's about getting your brain into this routine. It's about setting boundaries, which are really important and really healthy because at the end of the day, we're one person. We can't work 24/7. And if we do, it's not going to lead to good things. So all of those combined, long and short of it, get a work-life balance. Stick to it. It's going to be hard potentially at first, but just do it. You'll feel so much better in the long run. Tip number 2, and this is something that might be a bit harder for you to do depending on your relationship with your supervisor. Set clear boundaries and expectations of what you're going to achieve each month. Even break it down smaller if you need to. What are you going to achieve each week? Now, the way I normally do this, and this is something I know I need to get better at with my supervisors, is we'll set big overarching monthly goals, which are usually quite broad. And then I myself will break them down into smaller weekly and sometimes even daily goals. And this is important for 2 reasons. 1, it stops our brains becoming overwhelmed because we've got this huge task that we can't imagine tackling and it's just too much and all that thoughts. But also it means that we can then celebrate the smaller victories, which triggers our brain into thinking, hey, I achieved something, I'm doing all right, I'm on the right track, because you've got little milestones along the way to kind of make yourself feel like, yeah, I've got this, I can do this. I don't need to climb the mountain today, I just need to get to base camp. It's a terrible analogy, but you get what I'm trying to say. And one way you can do this is work with your supervisors. Be honest, be open and say, look, at the moment, I'm just struggling to do big tasks and I want to do smaller tasks. So can we say, maybe let's check in a bit more regularly. I'll send you smaller stuff, but more frequently, because I just can't face doing a whole chapter this month, or I can't face doing a whole data project, whatever it is for your PhD. Third thing is get a good support system around you. Surround yourself with people you can talk to and you trust, even if that's maybe in different capacities. So, you've got your family, you've got your friends, maybe you've got some colleagues who are going through a similar thing. Maybe you need to get a therapist, and that's okay. It's okay to have a therapist. I have a therapist. It's really useful. Maybe you've got an online pen pal. You need people around you that are going to support you, that are going to lift you up, and you can't always rely on one person for that. So if you can, try and get it from different sources, so that when you are feeling stressed out, you've got someone to go to and just vent to, or maybe you've got someone, if that helps you, who will be like, okay, I think we need to do this, this and this. Just make sure you have that good support network around you, because you're probably going to need it. So this 4th one might be a bit harder to do, but try and sit down with yourself for 10-20 minutes and think about what signs or early warning things do you have that let you know that you're potentially slipping into burnout. Now, these are going to be slightly different for everybody, so I can't sit here and make your list for you or with you, but if you sit with yourself for a little bit, which can be uncomfortable, I know, you can probably come up with at least 5 or 10 things that are early warning signs. For me, for example, it's that feeling of apathy. I just kind of stopped caring about a lot of my workplace. My attention span deteriorates massively. I can't focus very well. I can't finish long tasks, all these early warning signs. And we're really thinking early warning signs here, as early as you can make them, even if it's just maybe you get irritable more than usual. The better you become at spotting the early warning signs that you're slipping into burnout, the better you can start to prevent it and react to it. So it's really important to figure out for yourself what your early warning signs are and what sort of patterns you start falling into when you're slipping into burnout. Okay, so the 5th one is once you've already slipped into burnout. Now, if you're experiencing burnout already, you might find your attention span is gone, you might be trying to focus on too many tasks at once and therefore not really focusing on any of them, and you might find that you just don't have the ability to focus on a task anymore. You just won't care, or you literally won't be able to focus. Your mind will just be running through so many things that you can't focus on one thing. So it's really important, if you are experiencing burnout, figure out what can you achieve. What are you in this precise moment, not before, not in the future, but now, what can you do now that is still going to contribute to your PhD? Now, for me, currently experiencing burnout, I'm pretty sure, I don't know, but I feel like I am. I know my attention span is only about 40 minutes at the moment. So I can only do tasks that are going to take around 40 minutes. Any longer than that, and my mind just doesn't want to focus anymore. So what I do is I set a timer for 40 minutes. And during that 40 minutes, I only let myself focus on one thing. And I tell myself before I set the timer, okay, for this 40 minutes, you are going to do X. You're not going to look at your phone. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that until the timer goes off. And then I try and do it. Doesn't always work successfully, but I try. And then once that timer goes off, I'm like, okay, it's time to take a break. Let's go watch an episode of Modern Family for 20 minutes or whatever. Not only am I segmenting my day so that it has more structure, but I'm also being realistic about what I can achieve. And that again will be slightly different for everybody, but I highly recommend you try the timer technique, because it just means you don't actually need to look at your phone because a timer is going to go off and tell you. You know and have a very clear expectation of going in what you're going to do during that time, and it's also not going to go on for too long. That's just one example of a study strategy that you could implement if you're already experiencing burnout, to try and help yourself get back into studying, to kind of feel in a better place. And it's mainly about setting those really realistic expectations of yourself and forcing yourself to just focus on one thing. Because another thing that people who with burnout tend to do is we tend to be multitaskers, we do lots of things at once, and it can lead to things falling through the cracks when we're not on top form. That's one of my tips. So those are all my tips about burnout. I hope this was useful. I have tried to be as informative as I can. Obviously, this is just a very brief overview and there's so much more to it, so I'm going to leave some links down below for you to look at. And yeah, that's the video. I hope you have an amazing week, and as always, if you want, leave me a comment or message me on Instagram. Always happy to answer questions, and I'll see you next Sunday. Okay, bye.